Hello, everybody, and welcome to our chat about the reactive dog. What do you do when you have a reactive dog? How do you calm them down? Has it been working? Have you had success? Or are you just one of those midnight walkers that avoid everyone and everything? Hi, Viv, how are you? Um,
I'm good. It might look a little bit delayed. I'm not quite sure what magic we can be for the internet today, but I know one thing's for sure because I saw this with my very own eyes today. A dog that was getting aggressive and whatever, and she bent down and picked it up and cuddled it and talked to it all goo goo and gaga, and the other dog just got even more escalated. So that's what not to do.
And yes, it's a very tempting thing to do when you have a small dog, that you can manhandle, to pick it up, remove it from the situation that way. And you might think that that works, but actually, like we've said, the reason why it doesn't work is because when you pick up your dog, you now are basically empowering your dog to be even stronger, but also it's not about abandoning your dog, but it is about the energy that you are being. And when you are picking up your dog, you most likely are in a state where you're not calm. You're actually also a bit excited one way or the other, maybe fearful, depending on where you're at, but you're not completely calm. So now you are basically making the transference between your body and your dog's body even stronger by cuddling it, by actually hugging it, in a way. And so it's really important to recognize that, that might work. Like actually taking your dogs in your arm might work if you are completely at peace, have absolutely no point of view, if you are just the chillest person in that moment where you're just having absolutely no reaction whatsoever, then that might actually help your dog to get calmer. But that's not what I have seen when people pick up their dog in terms of their own state of mind.
Yeah, and I think this is a major point that a lot of people don't comprehend. That energy, the idea of being able to de-escalate that energy rather than escalate it. And it takes, a demand of yourself to be present with the energy and not get reactive to whatever the situation is. Because like you said, Susie, if you add your panic, your fear, your worry, your worst case scenario, your adrenaline pump, whatever, to that situation, everything is energy, and everyone, and the dogs particularly in that situation, perceive that energy. So you're actually inadvertently escalating the energy if you're not able to calm yourself in that moment. So that's a big step for people, I think, when they've been in that reactive phase for so long, it's like an autopilot. So to be able to be present with that and just be that much space and not add energy or add fuel to the fire it's a skill. It's something that you can choose to embody and become. And this is where I love the tools are taught to the animals, because they help to dissipate and diffuse that excess energy, so you can be that source of energy in the moment where you can change a potential reality of what could occur.
Yeah, and that's really, yeah, well said. And for me, a lot of these situations that we find ourselves in with our animals, when there is some kind of a reactive time, no matter what that is, the thing that is really the most the most important about it is that the connection between you and your animal no longer really exists. So basically, in that moment when your animal starts going into a reactive mindset, they're no longer looking at you for guidance. They now have decided whatever it is, if it's a fearful dog, they have to decide that they now have to move forward towards this target that is scary to them, and they have to now defend themselves and you from that target. They can also get very protective because they don't have a sense anymore that you're in charge or that you are there, even with them. And so becomes their own battle, and that's also when it escalates, like there's no way to really get into the space of that animal anymore. So you have to be very much aware and willing to step in way before it escalates, and once it's escalated, you do have to remove yourself and the dog far enough from the situation so that you can get your dog's attention again, so you can connect with them. But, like Viv was saying earlier, it's like, if you play with the tools ahead of time and you can actually make sure that you stay connected with your animal, you have a much better chance to tackle these situations and actually change them than if you are also then reacting to the reaction of your animal.
Yeah, and another reaction I see a lot of people doing is petting their dog and, reassuring them and telling them it's all going to be okay or whatever, which that might have a very good intention behind it. But again, your energy is probably saying the exact opposite of what your words are trying to convince yourself of and the animal. So remember, the animal, their first language is energy. So if you're trying to pat and calm your dog, and by that state, a lot of people are already heightened and nervous and anxious, and the heart rate's up, and that's all transferring over to the dog and to the situation. So, and people pull the dog closer or try and hug it like a child or stroke it or even pat it. Even patting can be quite distressing for an animal, rather than you being calm and giving the signal and being the energy of what a leader would be. If that was a puppy in a litter, what would the bitch, what would the mother of the dog do to protect her puppy? So it's, again, this is where I love the tools are taught to the animals, because it all comes back to us as the leader, if we're choosing to be the leader of the pack and have that bond and relationship where your animal feels secure in your leadership and you feel secure in a situation to function from your awareness and know exactly what is required to dissipate the situation, but primarily keep you and your dog safe.
Yeah. I think you just said like the most important part, because how many of you feel like, oh, I know what to do in a situation like that? Probably not. So, you have this feeling that you don't know what you're doing. You feel helpless. And again, your dog picks up on that energy. So whatever you can do to get yourself into the situation where you feel like, I know what I'm doing, and this is basically something that I can now share with my animal. If you have a sense of confidence, if you have a sense of, hey, this is all good, like I got this, then your animal can actually follow you again, in that sense that they can relax into your confidence. But if you are overwhelmed as well, because you have had basically a past with your animal that got you to this place where you are feeling completely out of control yourself, then now the both of you have basically escalated to a place where it's up to you now to turn that ship around. So what can you do to get yourself calm? What is it that you could do to get yourself confident again? And I have seen this with myself and also with many other people. Sometimes we give up before we have an actual breakthrough. Sometimes we think, oh, I don't know what I'm doing and it's not working, and so now I give up, instead of actually hanging in there and really also asking the question, is it not working what I'm doing, or does it just require a little bit more time, a little bit more energy, a little bit of maybe a slightly different approach, but still the same direction? Like, ask yourself some questions. And if you require some assistance, please look for some assistance and see what resonates with you. Not every dog trainer will resonate with you. Not every method will resonate with you. Please also look at what actually resonates with you.
And know that it can change. You may not have the skill set or be able to calm yourself emotionally, which is understandable. And know that it can change. It doesn't have to be like this forever and ever and a day. And you have to be very aware of the story that you've built around past experiences or reference points that you've had. Oh, last time such and such happened. Or because what we do is we then solidify that behavior with us primarily, which again, how does that change for the dog? So, you know, I totally agree, Susie. If you watching don't feel like you've got the skill set yet to be able to do this, find somebody. And I know I keep plugging the tools of Talk to the Animals, but truly it's, you know, it's a modality, if you like. It's a process. It's a set of tools and processes that empower you to know that to know that you can change things, and to know that with a bit of education and expanding your awareness, you can become, not just with your dogs, but in every area of your life. So if you find yourself where you are reactive to people and situations, not just in this particular case with animals or your dog, but it changes and transforms in every single area of your life. And for me, I'm like, why wouldn't you want to be more empowered these days to deal with life situations? There's a few of them out there at the moment.
Indeed.
So that's my little add-on to the, you know, the calming a reactive dog. So yeah, and look, the Talk to the Animals book, it's a $25 book that you can purchase online. It's full of tools and tips and practical know-hows as to how you can process through yourself, primarily through situations, but also your animals. And we do have Talk to the Animals facilitators all over the world, along with Susie and I, that speak different languages too. So there are very different possibilities available if you're willing to just look and tune into what resonates with you.
Yeah. And one last thing I'd like to say too is, please start to be more proactive in the way that you are with your animal, in a sense that start to really look at, when does the situation actually start to shift? And it might be when you are seeing whatever your dog is reacting to already. So you might already have a moment where you're going into, oh, wow, there's another dog coming, for example. Now I have to do this and this and this. What if you actually instead just took a deep breath and really let go of that, in the sense that, hey, okay, I got this. Whatever I can do here, I got this. And, you know, I got myself, I got my dog. And then to actually really make an effort to stay connected with your dog and not allow your dog to now also get locked in on that situation, but rather than that, redirect them to get locked in with you again. And so you start to really go, okay, cool, I got this. Hey, come on, Fido, you know, we got this together. And whatever you have to do, and, you know, stay at a distance that's comfortable for you, where you feel like you got this handled, and really work on yourself first and see that you can get calm, that you can get confident, and start playing with that foremost, you know, because it's, first of all, you have to find a way for yourself. And like we've said, you know, have a look around, see what can assist you with that. And, you know, if you're familiar with Access, pock and pod yourself and see what you can do to really get yourself into that calm state of mind.
And if you wonder what POC and POD means, you can go to theclearingstatement.com. We've given you lots of goodies in today's live. Thank you, Susie.
Thank you, Viv. And we will see you again another time. Thanks, everybody, for coming today. Bye.
Bye.